Hello and welcome to an India Today special broadcast that comes to you from strife-torn Ukraine. I'm Gaurav Sawant. Over the course of the next 1 hour, India Today's team of reporters, and we have the biggest team of reporters on ground zero in Ukraine, from Kyiv to Kharkiv, from Mariupol to Lviv. We will get you ground realities of this battle for the control and denial of Kyiv.
Kyiv has waited 20 days and now it's finally happening. Putin's shells land 6 kilometers from President Zelenskyy. Dramatic escalation in the heart of the Ukrainian capital. No longer on the outskirts, missiles hitting inside Kyiv city. Suburbs smashed, Putin's forces strike the capital. The Russian army is sniffing endgame Zelenskyy. Is Kyiv about to fall?
Day 20 of the battle saw specific targeting of residential areas in and around Kyiv. The battle is coming eerily close to the Ukrainian capital, with several residential areas also in the line of Russian fire. According to the information that's available, Russian forces are advancing on multiple flanks from Irpin to Bucha. What we've also been told, Hostomel has also been in the line of Russian fire. On the other hand, Ukrainian forces insist they have been able to stall the advance of the Russian forces, even as an effort is made to find a solution through negotiations. And the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelenskyy made it very clear that it is not very essential for Ukraine to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, given the situation on ground.
Russia breathing down Kyiv's neck. Nearly 3 weeks into this invasion, Russian troops are ready to plot the fall of Ukraine's capital. Russian forces are now hitting at will, targeting crucial landmarks and the residential neighborhoods of what is now a largely deserted city.
There is a curfew in Kyiv from tonight onwards. Nobody can move out unless you have a pass or some kind of documents to move out, because probably Russians are too close now and they cannot have people outside because they do not know who these people are. Therefore, to make sure that no Russian agent or any special forces agent is roaming around the city.
This residential tower in Kyiv, just a few kilometers from President Zelenskyy's official residence, was smoldering moments after being hit.
You can see fire there. Fire, this tender has been working for last 2 hours, but still a lot of apartment blocks are still burning. See, Russian forces are still a little far away. I mean, the nearest advance which they have made towards Kyiv, they are still about 12 to 13 kilometers away. But now the whole Kyiv city is within the artillery range. They can fire at will anywhere on any building in Kyiv city.
Это ужасно, это неправильно, все должны жить в мире.
Ты хочу это stop? Да? Ты хочу the war stop?
Please stop.
She says war is really bad. They are not able to live peacefully. ये आराम से नहीं रह पा रहे हैं. ये war इतने खराब है. और ये हम चाहते हैं कि लड़ाई किसी से रुक जाए.
Dramatic images of missiles raining fire in civilian zones in Kyiv have surfaced, showing residents fleeing for life after a huge strike was caught on CCTV cameras. Russian drones were seen pummeling targets around Kyiv. The attack drones taking off from airstrips under Russian control for sorties to pound the capital. On Monday, Russian shelling was also seen at several residential areas, setting them on fire.
We never go the knee. We will defend our city. It's our homes. We never think to leave. It's our homes. We defend our children, family, our buildings, our city, and our future of Ukraine.
The sprawling Antonov aviation plant saw a huge plume of smoke on Monday and was on fire after being hit in a Russian airstrike on Monday. The punitive daytime strikes come after huge barrages of overnight shelling, which has left raging fires in key suburbs of the deserted city. With every diminishing resistance by the Ukraine army, this phase of the war marks a decisive shift in Russia's favor. With Rajesh Pawar deep inside the war zone of Kyiv, Bureau Report, India Today.
As bombs, missiles and rockets rained down in Kiev, several residential areas were targeted and people fled to safety. India Today's biggest team of reporters on ground zero have fanned out to bring you these reports. India Today contributor Rajesh Pawar spoke to some of the residents of Kiev after the destruction. Let's listen in to his report.
What time it happened? What time did that actually took place? 4, 5 in the morning? Okay, but you okay? ये अंग्रेजी नहीं बोल पा रहे हैं, नहीं समझ पा रहे हैं, लेकिन इनका घर तबाह हुआ। ये बिल्डिंग में उस वक्त थे, मैंने इनसे बात की है। इन्होंने बताया कि बिल्डिंग के अंदर थे जब धमाका हुआ इतना बड़ा और ये भाग के निकले, लेकिन ये सुरक्षित है। लेकिन बिल्डिंग अभी भी जल रही है, अभी भी आग की लपटें देखी जा सकती है और ये और फायर हुए हैं, 2 और बम अपने धमाके अभी हुए हैं, शायद कीव शहर के अंदर ही हुए हैं, काफी पास में हैं जो इस वक्त हुए हैं। I am here with Lena, who lives near this house. Let's know what she feels about it. Lena, खुदा की भी अगोमा। And how far it is? Skolka distance? Tam? Her house is just about from here, about 150 meters from here. Что ты думаешь about this?
Но были слышны очень сильные взрывы, я не могу пару дней спать. То, что произошло здесь, это очень ужасно. Пожалуйста,
Speak, English, read and speak.
I don't speak.
Okay, but I understand that you want the war to stop.
Stop.
Yes, and
No
it
war.
is no war. Okay, I understand. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Day 20 has seen a dramatic escalation in conflict with areas barely 10 to 15 kilometers away from Ukrainian President Zelensky's office now in the line of Russian fire. Russian forces are trying to advance forward on multiple flanks from Irpin and Bucha and Brovary, but that's the advance on the north and the northeastern and western flank. There is also an advance that's happening from the southern and the eastern flank. Let's now get you the bigger picture on day 20 of the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
As he walks amidst the tremors of his besieged city, the once distant thunder of the Russian war machine is now closing in and fast. Commanding the final defense of Ukraine's capital, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is now less than 8 kilometers away from where Russian weapons are landing.
This is a fire tender working here, but still there is fire. It's been burning for last 2.5 hours since it was struck by a missile in the morning today at 4:30 to 5 local time. The complete building has been destroyed, and there was another blast which I saw just before this. It was in the middle of a road. Nearby buildings were damaged. Now the whole Kyiv city is within the artillery range. It is like about 10 kilometers away from the city center, but it is quite close to Irpin where the fighting was taking place, and maybe just about 10 kilometers from the front lines and 10 kilometers from the center.
Zelenskyy's fortress of Kyiv has been breached, with the shockwaves of Putin's shells now quaking the presidential palace. Once restricted to the satellite suburbs of the city, the firepower of Putin's war machine is barely 3 kilometers from the once bustling city center now.
Range of the medium artillery and the multi-barrel rocket launchers which Russian forces have, the entire city is within their range now.
The hunted Ukrainian president is aware that the man who stalks him with an enormous military machine is sniffing an endgame in the heart of the country's capital. And as tension spreads in Kyiv, he has spoken out once again.
Наші хоробрі захисники продовжують завдавати російським військам.
Soon the numbers of downed helicopters of Russia will reach hundreds of units. They have already lost 80 warplanes, hundreds of tanks and thousands of other units of equipment.
Сотні танків, тисячі інших одиниць техніки.
Leaving in their wake a trail of damage, debris and devastation, the Russian forces are training their weapons ever closer to the man they wish to topple as Ukraine's head of state. The man who continues to defy President Putin in what is emerging to be a last stand battle. With peace talks between Ukraine and Russia meandering and the devastation piling up every minute, will Putin's army be at President Zelensky's doorstep next? And if they get him, what will they do with him? The world is watching. With Rajesh Pawar in Kyiv, Ukraine, Bureau Report, India Today.
I now want to cut across to India Today's executive editor Shiv Arur, who tells us the significance of this battle on day 20. And this is very significant because now this battle is very close to the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky's office. Shells are not just falling in Mariupol or Irpin or Bucha or far-off places or the control of Kherson. This battle is now all about Kiev and the capture and denial of Kyiv.
And now Kyiv is back in focus. Just look at how close things are. You know, as the Ukraine war now enters day 20, Russian troops are continuing their advance towards the capital from the outskirts, but the attacks are happening inside the city. Let me show you the exact location where Putin's missiles and shells are now landing. Obolon, where Rajesh was reporting from yesterday, it's a residential district in Kyiv. Viewers, Obolon is a district that is under attack. It's just about 10 kilometers away from the presidential palace, the main office of the National Security and the Defense Council. 10 kilometers is nothing for any kind of weaponry in this day and age. This is the place from where President Zelensky is believed to be churning out all his, messages, his war strategies with his cabinet. Now, Russian missiles hit a residential building 10 kilometers away from President Zelensky's location. Now we'll show you how first-hand India Today reporting has mapped and charted how things are actually getting a little closer. Moscow's been bombarding Kyiv's suburbs, its satellite towns in the larger metropolitan area, including in Irpin. Hair-raising videos by Rajesh from there, from Bucha and Brovary, where Gaurav has reported on the shelling that has taken place from there. In Hostomel, we were the first team on site to show you the airstrikes that took place in Hostomel. These are the cities around Kyiv, actually suburbs of Kyiv. But now, this has dramatically changed in the last 48 hours, where Russian missiles and shells are landing inside Kyiv city. Inside Kyiv city, just a few kilometers away from the city center as well as the presidential palace. Kyiv, this is now going to be a very, very dramatically escalating situation unless a ceasefire is agreed upon very, very soon. Kyiv could perhaps fall to Russian forces if things continue the way they're going right now.
This battle has been on close to 3 weeks now. Now, the Russian forces are still not in control of Kiev, but they've been raining their missiles and rockets virtually in every part of Ukraine. And Lviv, where we are right now, hasn't been spared either. The Russians targeted a military complex here in Lviv, while Ukrainian forces say they lost 35 brave security personnel who were undergoing training at this military facility. The Russians claim there were 180 foreign fighters and mercenaries who were undergoing training in Lviv, and that missile strike was to target the foreign mercenaries. But one thing is very clear. The Russians are targeting every military installation across Ukraine, from Kiev to Kharkiv to Mariupol, even Lviv.
Lviv is the gateway to Poland. The city, with a population of 7 lakh, is sheltering 2 lakh people displaced by Russia's war on Ukraine. The West Ukrainian city was so far a safe space for the thousands fleeing the relentless Russian attacks in the north and east. But all that changed this Sunday, when Russia fired around 30 cruise missiles at a military base near the city. 35 people were killed in the missile strikes. It was the major attack in western Ukraine since Russia launched its invasion. The attacked base was one of Ukraine's largest military facilities, located just 25 kilometers from Poland, a NATO member country. The Polish border isn't just an important route for refugees fleeing the war-torn nation, but also for military aid reaching Ukraine. The attack has sparked panic among people in the city. Air raid sirens blared throughout the day.
There has been an air raid alert here in Lviv, and that's the reason why you'll see a lot of people out in the open. They've come here. Are you all here because of the air raid siren?
Yes, maybe 20 minutes ago we heard yes, Sorana.
While Russia has mostly focused on North and East Ukraine in its first 20 days of war, the missile attack on the Lviv military base shows no city is safe anymore. Now citizens in Lviv are preparing to defend their city against any Russian advance.
Largely, look, there was just an air raid siren, and after that air raid siren, everyone was underground. Now they've come up once again.
With Geeta Mohan and Gaurav Sawant in Lviv, Bureau Report, India Today.
3 weeks ago, the air raid sirens were really scary. But 3 weeks into this conflict, air raid sirens are now perhaps a routine affair in Kyiv and some other battle-hit areas. As far as Lviv is concerned, there is still fear, there is apprehension. India Today's Foreign Affairs editor, Geeta Mohan, brings us this report about an air raid siren close, very close to the city, where there was apprehension that there could be either an airstrike or missile strike in or around Lviv.
Air raid sirens up again, blaring in the city of Lviv. People have been going into the bomb shelters. Not many, quite a few of the apartments over here do not have bomb shelters, but the parking and the basements are where they're moving. They're moving swiftly. There are a lot of directions and volunteers who are helping them move, and they know exactly where to go in every locality, which is what they're doing. This even as you can hear the sirens. So we will also be going to one of the shelters to take refuge till the time it is safe to be out again. In Lviv, Geeta Mohan for India Today.
In 20 days, Europe has changed, at least this part. In Ukraine, there's been tremendous human suffering. Millions have been displaced, millions forced to leave their homes, either live in smaller villages, move to Lviv, or move out of Ukraine to safer areas. But there's another aspect that has come out, not just about human misery, but about human resilience and people coming forward to help one another. At several border points, there are civilians who've come forward to help those fleeing this conflict. There are volunteers who are racing against time to help those who desperately need one shot at life.
Ukraine's fate changed on 22nd February, the day Russian President Vladimir Putin declared war, raining missiles on key military targets. Since then, the war has taken several turns. Russia, which claimed it's only targeting strategic targets, is hitting civilian structures in Ukraine. These pictures are proof. 20 days on, more than 2 million civilians have fled the war-torn country, triggering a massive refugee crisis in Europe. But the spirit of nationalism among Ukrainians transcends borders. Refugees from Ukraine who are in Poland staged a protest, blocking trucks from crossing into Belarus, the neighbor who's hand in glove with Russia. Protesters called for stronger interventions from the European Union. They claimed the trucks and their cargo were not destined for Belarus, but Russia.
In the 21st century, in 2022, Russia attacked a neighboring country and we are having a war in the middle of Europe. All we want is that Europe stops financing that war.
As you can see, all we can do is stand in front of the trucks to block them from getting to the border. The one behind me has Italian license plates and is full of medical equipment.
In the last 3 weeks, 40,000 bags of sand have been shifted so far.
We are very optimistic here about the situation because people are really united. You can see that different ages, different languages, different cultures all prepare to fight for Ukraine and for the whole Europe actually. While NATO is quite silent, we are fighting.
I think it's important because it's my city. I love my city, I love my country, and I want that my country win this war.
Let's go!
Fighting for their motherland and ready to die, Ukraine's civilians have shown exemplary courage and valor to fight the invaders and keep them out. Bureau Report, India Today.
In this very bitter battle for the control of Kyiv and Ukraine, there is a story of hope. And this is a report that comes from Mariupol, where a humanitarian corridor was made and some vehicles were permitted to leave. Several senior citizens, women, non-combatants and those who urgently require medical attention were permitted to leave Mariupol. Now, the situation in the eastern part of Ukraine remains extremely grim, especially across the Donbass region, where Russia is taking control of even more territory, with Russian tanks reported in Mariupol and the Ukrainians fighting back for every inch of territory. Poland may not have given its MiG-29 fighters to Ukraine directly, but Poland is offering other help, especially in terms of healthcare for those who are fleeing this battle in Ukraine. That story and lots more coming up on the other side of a quick break. Stay with us on our special broadcast on day 20 of this conflict from Ukraine. Poland may not have helped Ukraine directly by giving them MiG-29 fighter jets that they desperately needed, but Poland is offering other help. A law has now been passed in Poland to give healthcare education benefits to those fleeing this conflict from Ukraine. So they may stay temporarily in Poland, they may benefit from the healthcare system, from the education system, and work in Poland for some time, till the time this conflict is sorted out. We bring you a ground report on the new law that's been passed and its advantages for the large number of people who are desperately fleeing this conflict zone. The Ukraine-Russia war has clearly divided the world. There are those who stand with Ukraine, and there are those who stand with Russia. The United States has weighed in with Ukraine. United States is not only providing Ukraine with financial assistance, but also anti-tank guided missiles, surface-to-air missiles, and other warlike stores, except, of course, no fighter jets yet. The United States is also putting pressure on China not to assist Russia either with finances or with warlike stores. China, of course, has said that there are elements who are trying to foment trouble between Russia and China, and that Beijing wants a peaceful, negotiated settlement on this issue. We bring you this report.
Tight security outside this hotel in Rome marked the high-stakes diplomacy inside. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan pressed Washington's message on a Chinese diplomat, asking Beijing not to take additional actions to support Moscow amid the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The White House described the 7-hour sit-down between Sullivan and Yang Jiechi as intense, reflecting what it called the gravity of the moment. Sullivan warned China of the economic penalties and global isolation it would face if it continues to support Russia in its invasion of Ukraine. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki.
Should they provide military or other assistance that, of course, violates sanctions or supports the war effort, that there will be significant consequences. But in terms of what those specifics look like, we would coordinate with our partners and allies to make that determination.
Psaki said the meeting had been scheduled for some time, adding,
it was a timely and important moment to have this conversation.
It took place as the U.S. told allies in NATO that China had signaled its willingness to provide military and economic aid to Russia to support its war. But China on Monday said reports of such a request from Russia was merely U.S. disinformation. Russia, too, denied it had asked China for military assistance and said it had sufficient military clout to fulfill all of its aims in Ukraine. U.S. officials and allies have tried to make clear to Beijing in recent weeks that siding with Russia could carry consequences for trade flows, development of new technologies, and could expose it to secondary sanctions. China, a key trading partner of Russia, has refused to call Moscow's actions an invasion, although China's President Xi Jinping last week did call for maximum restraint and expressed concern about the impact of Western sanctions on the global economy.
Global oil prices that were expected to soar, especially with this conflict intensifying, well, these global oil prices are now simmering. They did soar, they did rise, but then they appear to be simmering, and Brent is now below $100 a barrel. And this is watched very carefully by analysts, and it is now being analyzed that fuel prices or global oil prices may just fall as rapidly as they rose. Why? Watch this report.
Crude oil prices off the boil. Prices below $100 per barrel for the first time this month. Yes, you heard that right. After touching nearly $130 a barrel, the highest in 14 years, crude oil prices have slipped below the psychologically crucial $100 mark again. Panic created by Putin's Red Army rumbling into Ukraine seems to have ebbed, with markets taking cues from ceasefire talks between Russia and Ukraine. Brent was at around $58 a year ago. It slowly rose to $75 in July before topping $87 in October. Prices eased in December last year, falling to $61. However, the pre-war face-off between Russia and Ukraine pushed up prices to $97. Panic when the war began had Brent trading at nearly $130. A week later, prices have cooled to under $100. So why have oil prices eased, even as the Russian army closes in on Ukraine's capital, Kyiv? Markets feel the ongoing peace talks between Russia and Ukraine may actually work, a step which would increase the global supply of Russian oil. Secondly, increasing COVID cases in China have forced the lockdown of several areas, leading to speculation that industrial activity may drop in China, leading to lower oil consumption. Meanwhile, India is also sourcing additional oil, reportedly at cheaper rates from Russia. Indian Oil Corporation has bought 3 million barrels of Russian Ural for a May delivery. This is India's first purchase of Russian-grade Ural since Moscow began the invasion of Ukraine on February the 23rd. The fall in prices will be a major relief to oil marketing companies in India, which have not been allowed to hike petrol and diesel prices for the past 5 months. Though the Indian crude basket is still way above the $100 mark, the financial burden on companies is expected to ease in the coming days. Bureau Report, Business Today TV.
Well, that is all we have time for on this India Today special broadcast from Lviv on day 20 of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. India Today's team of reporters will continue to report from ground zero, but that is all that we have for you on this special broadcast. From camera person Pavan Kumar and I, Gaurav Sawant, many thanks for watching. For all the latest news and updates, stay with India Today.